Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. Liverpool send transfer deadline day warning to Alexander Isak as Newcastle star still on strike. Liverpool's pursuit of Alexander Isak could reach a crazy conclusion on transfer deadline day, if current rumors are to be believed. Liverpool tested Newcastle's resolve earlier in the window with a 110 million bid for Isak, only to see it rejected instantly. The Sweden international has since upped the ante by going on strike and publicly accusing the club of breaking promises. Isak, ironically, reportedly vowed to stay at St. James's Park if Newcastle achieved Champions League football, which they did. Despite a personal intervention from Newcastle chairman Yasir Al-Rumayyan, the 25-year-old is determined to leave Newcastle before the window closes. Liverpool are preparing an improved offer believed to top 130 million, but Newcastle are standing firm at a 150 million valuation. Now, Give Me Sport has reported that Liverpool will go in one of two possible directions on transfer deadline day, and although Isak is a target, he's not their only option. The sport outlet claimed that if a move for Isak seems unlikely, the Reds will push for the signature of Real Madrid winger Rodrigo. Hugo Ekitike's start to life at Anfield has been a huge success, already picking up 3 goals and 1 assist. The idea that Liverpool should sign Isak and shunt the Frenchman out wide now seems somewhat far-fetched. Rodrigo, by contrast, would fit perfectly into the right-wing position voided by Luis Diaz earlier this summer, freeing up Cody Gakpo to play a more versatile role across the front three in Arne Slot's side. Liverpool expected to make a 130 Alexander Isak bid. Alexander Isak's proposed move to Liverpool has moved closer in the past 24 hours. According to sources who expect a Premier League record transfer bid over the weekend, Eddie Howe is set to add Nick Woltemade to the Newcastle attack after agreeing a 69.2 million fee with Stuttgart for the Germany international, a deal that has implications for Isak's future as the Sweden striker seeks a move. The Newcastle manager is also in the market for another forward, with interest in Wolverhampton's Jorgen Strand Larsen and Brentford's Yohan Wissa. Alexander. Isak bid of over $130 million expected, latest Liverpool FC news. Newcastle are reportedly expecting a bid of over $130 million for Alexander Isak, while Oliver Glasner has reiterated that Mark Guehi will not be leaving Crystal Palace unless they sign a replacement. Dominoes beginning to fall for Alexander Isak now that Newcastle are close to the 69 million signing of Stuttgart forward Nick Woltemade. Liverpool are expected to return with a second bid for Isak. Journalist Mike McGrath wrote for The Telegraph that sources are anticipating an offer starting at 130 million before add-ons and bonuses raise the overall package. This comes almost a month after Liverpool's first bid of 110 million was rejected, with Newcastle originally demanding 150 million for their Swedish striker. That stance has reportedly changed, however. The Times' Martin Hardy and Paul Joyce have provided an update this week, suggesting that a package worth 130 million could be enough to reach an agreement. In recent days, Newcastle's stance of not for sale has softened after meetings with Isak and progression on their own transfer targets. With the transfer of Woltemade nearly complete, the Magpies are also edging closer to signing Yohan Wissa from Brentford as the Bees seek a replacement in the form of Borussia Dortmund forward Max Bayer, for whom they have bid 45 million, according to Sky Sports. Wissa moving to Newcastle would mean they have their 2 striker signings, which have long been reported to have been a prerequisite to allowing Isak's departure. Today's Liverpool FC news. Manager Oliver Glasner has said Guehi has to stay at Crystal Palace if they cannot find a replacement by the deadline. Man City's Manuel Akanji and Monaco's Mohamed Salisu are both targets. Alexis McAllister has returned to training and Connor Bradley has trained all week said Slot when offering a positive fitness update ahead of Sunday's game against Arsenal. Kostas Tsimikas is to undergo a medical at Roma ahead of a season-long loan move. Liverpool wanted to sell but have reached a compromise with Roma paying his wages. James McConnell has signed a new 5-year deal at Liverpool and moved to Champions League club Ajax on loan, where he will play under John Heitinga for the season ahead. Jayden Danns and Rio Ngumoha have been included in the England U20s and U18 squads, respectively. Unusually, there are no Liverpool players in the senior squad. Having become Liverpool's youngest goal scorer of all time and dazzled in pre-season, Rio Ngumoha's choice to leave Chelsea at 15 years old has already been vindicated, writes Jack Lusby, on a transfer that burned bridges to Stamford Bridge. Elsewhere, in the football world today, Trent Alexander-Arnold has been left out of Thomas Tuchel's England squad for their games against Andorra and Serbia. Jordan Henderson is still in there, though. Mikel Arteta has revealed Bukayo Saka will be out for a few weeks, but not require surgery on his hamstring injury. Meanwhile, Martin Odegaard is a doubt for Sunday's match. Fenerbahce have sacked Jose Mourinho following their Champions League qualifying exit to Feyenoord. He had only been there 15 months. Liverpool FC, on this day. It is a day to wish happy birthday to Liverpool youngster Ngumoha, who turns 17 years old. The forward had a memorable 17th year, signing for the Reds, making his debut for the club and becoming the Reds' youngest ever goal scorer with that late winner at St. James's Park. He also became our youngest ever player to feature in the FA Cup and second youngest starter in all competitions, aged 16 years and 135 days. Now 17, a professional contract is to come his way ahead of what is anticipated to be a season with greater involvement at senior level. Agreement done as Liverpool, now waiting on club to approve transfer. Fabrizio Romano. Agreement done as Liverpool now waiting on club to approve transfer. Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool could soon experience a resolution to the Mark Guehi transfer story this summer. The Merseysiders can currently call upon the services of Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, Joe Gomez, and Giovanni Leone in the heart of their defense. However, the potential arrival of the Crystal Palace centre-back would add much-needed depth for the 2025-26 season. Konate and Gomez are both superb options within the backline, but have struggled with poor form and injury in recent months. Fabrizio Romano. Liverpool want to finalize Mark Guehi transfer. The Italian journalist now reports for Caught Offside that Liverpool are prepared to pay over $30 million to finalize the deal in question. Importantly, Guehi himself is still keen on a switch to Arne Slot's men ahead of the deadline on September 1st, and personal terms are not going to be an issue. So it's now up to the Eagles to respond and see if a middle ground can be found to enable the England international to link up with the incumbent Premier League champions for the 2025-26 season. Why is a deal in Crystal Palace's best interests? The defender ultimately has no interest in extending his stay at Selhurst Park beyond the summer of 2026. So, this is categorically Crystal Palace's last chance to retrieve some value from the footballer ahead of his contract expiring next year. Chairman Steve Parish has already indicated that this would be the preferable outcome for the club, despite the fact that Oliver Glasner's men have already lost Eberechi to Arsenal. Palace transfer contradicts Oliver Glasner's position. Glasner raised more than a few eyebrows on socials after telling reporters in his pre-match presser that the club could not allow Guehi to leave. From my side, he has to stay because it's not possible at the moment to find a Mark Guehi replacement who can play straight in the Premier League and be a starter for Crystal Palace, the former Frankfurt boss said. That perhaps indicates that potential new signing J.D. Canvat, who Ben Jacobs notes is considered a long-term replacement for the Englishman, will not, ideally, be relied upon from the off. What's instructive in Glasner's comments, for Liverpool fans, however, is the head coach's opening from my side statement. It remains to be seen whether Crystal Palace executives and decision-makers behind the scenes will agree that it is in the club's best interests to hold on to Guehi at the risk of losing him on a free next year. If Liverpool are prepared to push their offer beyond the 30-meter mark too, that could prove decisive in negotiations. Liverpool's dream 20-man game day squad after transfer window closes. Liverpool looks as though it could get 2 more major transfers over the line ahead of Monday's transfer deadline, with developments starting to occur around the futures of Alexander Isak and Mark Guehi. Both Newcastle and Crystal Palace seemingly have taken steps to replace those players, with Nick Woltemade closing in on a move to St. James's Park, and Palace hopeful of signing 2 new centre-backs before the window closes. Both Isak and Guehi are keen to move to Liverpool, and their arrivals would give Arne Slot's squad an even more formidable look after a series of blockbuster signings earlier on in the window. Liverpool committed more than $100 million on deals for both Florian Wirtz and Hugo Ekitike, while Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, Giovanni Leone, and Georgi Mamardashvili all also commanded significant fees. The Anfield club's heavy summer spend has been made possible by a combination of a quiet window 12 months ago and a series of significant sales this summer. Darwin Núñez, Luis Diaz, Jarell Quansah, Ben Doak, Callum Kelleher, Tyler Morton, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Nat Phillips have all brought in fees for the Reds, and there could be more exits in the coming days. Arne Slot was asked in his pre-Arsenal press conference what the likelihood was of Liverpool signing more players over the next few days. He responded, "I think I said after Monday evening against Newcastle that again I could make a substitution that impacted the game. That's what Federico Chiesa did against Bournemouth, and that's what Rio Ngumoha did now against Newcastle. As always, we try to sign players that can help us, but there is no reason after the first 2 games to complain or to think we need more. If we can strengthen the squad, then we will always try to do that if it's for the right money and it's the right player. There are only 3 or 4 days to go now, so let's see if we do something. And if we do something, what we can do. There is the small matter of a game against Arsenal at Anfield to come this weekend. But Liverpool's playing squad that will take the club through to January at the earliest will not be locked in until the following day. That means that an away game against Burnley after the international break is the first time we will see exactly what that squad will look like. And here's our prediction for what the Reds' 20-man game day roster could be at Turf Moor. Deadline. Approaching transfer news live. Spurs complete. Xavi Simons hijack from Chelsea. Liverpool's $130 million Isak bid. Garnacho latest. Transfer deadline day is fast approaching as clubs look to finalize their summer business before Monday's 7 p.m. deadline. Tottenham have successfully hijacked Chelsea's move for RB Leipzig star Xavi Simons, with the 22-year-old now being announced on Spurs' social media platforms. There is some good news for the Blues, though, as Chelsea and Manchester United have agreed a deal for Argentinian winger Alejandro Garnacho, according to reports. Newcastle have agreed a 65-meter deal with Stuttgart for striker Nick Woltemade in a huge breakthrough for Alexander Isak and Liverpool, with the Reds now preparing a $130 million bid. Brooks Crystal Palace want to sign Bournemouth star David Brooks in the closing stages of the summer transfer window. Palace have made an $8 million bid for Brooks, who is in the final year of his contract at the Vitality Stadium. The Cherries don't want to sell the winger ahead of Monday's transfer deadline day. Bournemouth have been in talks over extending the Wales international's contract. Liverpool plan record Isak bid. Liverpool are expected to make a record bid for Newcastle star Alexander Isak in the coming days. Sunsport revealed last week that the Reds Chiefs had sanctioned a $130 million bid for Isak, and the Merseysiders are now expected to finally launch it ahead of Monday's transfer deadline day. According to The Telegraph, discussions over the potential sale of the striker have progressed in the last 24 hours. Liverpool are now set to launch a Premier League record offer this weekend. The Prem champions are hopeful that it will be accepted, although the bid is 20 million short of the Magpies' 150 million valuation. Mourinho to Forest denied. Exclusive Jose Mourinho has left his position as Fenerbahce boss after failing to lead the Turkish Giants to the Champions League. Mourinho has been linked with a move to Nottingham Forest after the Premier League outfit's current manager Nuno Espirito Santo's explosive press conference. Nuno claimed his relationship with Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis is not as close as it used to be and strongly suggested he will be leaving the club. Sunsport, however, understand Nottingham have no interest in hiring Mourinho at the moment, and their current manager is not leaving. Marinakis also stated his relationship with Nuno is solid, without problems whatsoever, and the two will meet over the weekend. The Greek businessman also said the Portuguese tactician is the right man to lead the tricky trees this season. Palace eyeing double deal before window shuts. Crystal Palace are racing to sign 2 centre-backs before the window shuts, a move that could pave the way for Mark Guehi's 35-meter switch to Liverpool. The Premier League champions have held talks over a deal, but boss Oliver Glasner insists the defender has to stay beyond Monday's deadline. Liverpool transfer news. Alexander Isak talks confirmed as Reds push for defender deal. Liverpool have already spent some serious cash in the transfer market this summer, but the Premier League champions could have more big deals up their sleeve. Before the window shuts on September 1st, Arne Slot and co. have added Jeremy Frimpong, Florian Wirtz, Milos Kerkez, and Hugo Ekitike to the team that won the title last year, with Georgi Mamardashvili also now on Merseyside after spending one final season in Spain with Valencia, and further reinforcements could be on the way in the coming days. Liverpool's interest in Alexander Isak has been well documented in recent weeks, and the Sweden international is still training alone at Newcastle after making it clear that he wants a move. There is also talk of a deal for Mark Guehi following negotiations with Crystal Palace over the England star earlier this month. The Reds are short at centre-back after sanctioning Jarell Quansah's move to Bayer Leverkusen earlier this summer. Howe confirms Isak talks. Eddie Howe has said that he did hold talks with Alexander Isak at the end of the 2024-25 campaign, but did not divulge whether or not he was aware of the player's desire to leave. Isak accused the club of breaking promises in an explosive social media statement this week. Newcastle responded with a statement of their own which outlined that no club officials had promised the striker a move. When he was asked about the situation in a press conference on Friday, Howe said, "Yeah, me and Alex had conversations towards the end of the season. Yes, I am not going to sit here and deny that. I have always said that individual conversations are better off remaining private. But we had conversations at the end of the season. But I have had conversations with him near enough every day. That wouldn't be abnormal." Guehi transfer latest. Liverpool are still pushing to sign Mark Guehi before the transfer window shuts after Steve Parish hinted Crystal Palace could sell their captain. Guehi could follow Eberiki Ease out of Selhurst Park with the attacking midfielder, agreeing to join Arsenal, and Mirror Football reported on Friday that the Reds are still hoping to clinch a deal for another of Palace's prized assets before the transfer deadline. Reds in Wharton Chase. Spanish outlet A's claim that Liverpool are competing with Manchester City, Manchester United, and Real Madrid for Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton. There has been plenty of speculation around Wharton, 21, in recent months, following the impressive manner in which he has handled the step up from the Championship to the Premier League after joining Palace back in February 2024, with top clubs now circling. Liverpool expected to make a 130 Alexander Isak bid. Newcastle's move for Nick Woltemade encourages Anfield club to return with second offer. Plus, Arne Slot on last season's title struggle. Alexander Isak's proposed move to Liverpool has moved closer in the past 24 hours, according to sources who expect a Premier League record transfer bid over the weekend. Eddie Howe is set to add Nick Woltemade to the Newcastle attack after agreeing a 69.2 million fee with Stuttgart for the Germany international, a deal that has implications for Isak's future as the Sweden striker seeks a move. The Newcastle manager is also in the market for another forward, with interest in Wolverhampton Wanderers' Jorgen Strand Larsen and Brentford's Jon Wissa. Newcastle's valuation of Isak is 150 million, with sources anticipating an offer starting at 130, before add-ons and bonuses raise the overall package of what would be a British record transfer. While sources anticipate movements ahead of Monday's deadline, Liverpool's current position is that they will not bid further. A bid of 110 million was rejected by Newcastle for Isak earlier this month, and with 4 days of the summer window left, the club have been firm in not wanting to sell, despite the player training away from the first team. Neither Liverpool nor Newcastle have confirmed a second approach for Isak since August 1st, since when the 25-year-old's row with his club has turned bitter. Fans have turned on Isak over his determination to leave after 3 years, just months after helping them win a first domestic trophy in 70 years and qualify for the Champions League again. The Sweden international has publicly accused Newcastle of breaking promises regarding allowing him to leave with a club delegation, attempting to thrash out a truce earlier this week at Isak's house, when the player told them he still wants to leave. Liverpool's interest in Isak has been long-standing and has not diminished ahead of the final days of the window. The Anfield club also beat Newcastle to the signing of Hugo Ekitike and have added Florian Wirtz over the summer as they look to defend their Premier League title. Howe. I never said he could leave. Howe, as he has done for weeks, played a straight bat to questions about Isak, although he strongly denied he had ever made a promise that the striker could leave this summer as long as Newcastle signed a replacement. Absolutely not. Howe replied when asked if Isak had been told he would get his move to Liverpool when they signed a replacement. I never make any promises to any players regarding transfers, because ultimately I'm not in control of the whole thing. I would never make a promise like that to any player. Asked if he had a preference on whether Isak was sold or stayed, Howe appeared to suggest Isak's decision to go on strike and refuse to play for the club had altered things in his mind. Of course I would have a preference, he said. But ultimately, you have to look at all the information. So, of course, I have a footballing preference, but then you have to take everything else into account. You can't just be oblivious to things that have happened. So, I'm in that position, really, where I'm trying to separate myself because I have no control over it. I will let everything take its course and then deal with the eventuality. So is it now in the best interests of everyone at Newcastle, given the imminent arrival of Woltemade from Stuttgart, to let Isak leave? The Newcastle manager did his best to swerve the question. As I've said, that is for other people to decide. I'm not in control of those discussions and talks. I'm focusing on trying to bring players into the team. Arne Slot. Last season's title was a struggle. Arne Slot says Liverpool must evolve to successfully defend their title, as he described last season's triumph as a struggle. Liverpool's bold response to winning the Premier League has been the kind of rebuild one might expect from an underachieving team, not one chasing a record-breaking championship win. The spending is unlikely to be over, with the club aspiring to complete the prolonged chase for Alexander Isak and Mark Guehi over the next 3 days. Those deals would take Liverpool's summer. Expenditure close to 400 million, albeit more than 200 million will have been recouped in sales. As a consequence of introducing so many new players at once, Liverpool have looked vulnerable in their first 2 league games as they adjust to a new, more offensive system. They also face a huge test of their title credentials with the visit of Arsenal this weekend. Slot said changing approach and personnel was necessary as he reeled off a series of fixtures last season when his side scraped a win. Always, if you win something, everybody's only looking back at some great attacks or some great wins. But the amount of times we struggled last season in a game of football were a lot, Slot said. Not every game last season was like Tottenham away, 6-3 win, or West Ham away, 5-0 win. Against Wolves, we didn't even have a shot on target in the second half in a home game, and away we won it lucky. I can go on and on and on. Crystal Palace away, we won 1-0 when they had a big chance at the end. To romanticize last season as much as we do, and sometimes the players make this mistake inside the building as well, is incorrect. Last season was every single time a struggle. Most wins were only by 1 goal, and we had to fight really hard for it. We said it last season 100 times. We didn't win the league as Manchester City did it for so many years, with every single game being 4-0 up at half-time. We had to fight really hard for it. There has been particular criticism of Liverpool's defending, Virgil van Dijk apart, as the champions have twice lost 2-goal leads before taking 3 points with late goals. Slot, however, says teething problems are normal when a new-look side take on quality opposition. He said, Bournemouth at home, the most intense team of the league last season, and then Newcastle away, where it was actually impossible to win there last season. To win there is the biggest compliment I can give the players. It was unbelievable. We need to improve, but we even had to improve compared to last season, and we need to improve because the competition has improved. On the form of under-fire center-back Ibrahima Konate, Slot added, I think he has things he can improve. But for him starting this season with a different fullback next to him probably is different as well. It's partly adjustment to each other. That will also improve the more we work together, the more he's used to the right fullback next to him, the more he's used to the other players that are in front of him as well. Slot, meanwhile, has confirmed Andy Robertson is Liverpool's new vice-captain following Trent Alexander-Arnold's recent departure. He's played here so many years and won the league twice, said Slot. He's a very good player, plays many games, knows what it takes, but also knows the culture of the club and the dressing room. The culture we have here at this club is the biggest gift I could get from Jurgen Klopp. And that's also something we definitely have to keep for my successor to have if I'm ever leaving this club. Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.